everybody? Gustavo here from Key Property Group. Today we're doing things a little bit differently. I know George usually does the intro for us, but because we're interviewing him today, we're going to do it backwards. George, say something just so people...
Not a full interview.
No,
sure.
No, yeah, we're doing a full interview.
Okay.
I was gonna say something so they know you're here, but you just did. Next time, wait until I ask the questions. Okay.
I wasn't here mentally, but now I woke and I'm here. Yes. Okay.
So the whole point of this is to kind of like get to know, how we got to where we are right now. Obviously, we are a brand new company, a year in. So tell us a little bit about, what got you here in order to start the company, and what do you feel, your past experiences have done for you in order to create this.
Well, really quickly before we get into that, we are recording right now at the end of October, which October marked our first year anniversary in business. We officially founded and opened in October of 2018. So this month was our official 1 year anniversary, which is why we wanted to dedicate this episode of the podcast to kind of what got us here. So
it kind of makes sense that you did it during Halloween. It's been a scary year, man.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, maybe you should even be dressed up now that we actually have recorded.
I am dressed up. I'm a high school student. But all jokes aside, though, so I know you went to school for business, right? You went to Quinnipiac a long time ago.
Yeah, ages ago.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. What interests you in that, real quick, and then we'll move on to past experiences and jobs that you've had to.
Well, I guess. I'll try to condense it a little bit for the purposes of this.
Please.
I would say that, so when I was at Quinnipiac, I had a small landscaping business, and I would say that was the stepping stone to everything else that's happened after that. From the landscaping business, I merged businesses with one of my high school friends. He had a construction business, and we merged that. We did that for a couple of years. And then we dissolved that, and I got into property management through the connections that I made with my high school friend in that landscaping and construction business. And then ultimately, around that time when I was doing property management, very informally, it kind of clicked with me that I wanted to pursue that and expand on that and go into real estate. So I pursued my real estate license at that point. I started working with a local brokerage firm, and I all the while was expanding the property management business. And then I would say 5 years is the time that I was with that brokerage company. And ultimately I decided to go out on my own and marry both the property management business that I was working independently.
Who says it like that?
Well, I brought them together. I did marry them. I was ordained, and I did two things. But, so I brought them together, and I decided to operate them under one roof. So it was no longer me being a real estate salesperson with one company and then wearing a different hat as a property manager independently, but now everything was being done under one roof, one brokerage branch, one management branch. And that really is what in a very, very, very condensed manner, that's really what got me to where I am today. I kind of expanded a little bit on that in a recent blog post that I wrote. So if anybody's more interested, you can kind of read up on that a little bit more.
You're going to plug your blog?
Well, I have to. No one reads it. No one reads it. Someone needs to read it. But no, I actually think I describe and explain it a little bit more eloquently in the blog. So if anybody is interested in getting to know a little bit more about how what path I've taken to get here, I think that does a better job.
Yeah, I think it's also on your Tinder profile, so people can just find you there as well if they want to know a little bit. Yes, yeah, that's how bad you want to. That's how bad you want to push that. It's everywhere, man. All right, so like you said, you married both companies. You decided to go on your own.
It was a very special day.
Yeah, for everyone. Why do you think it took you so long to do that? I mean, you said you were in the industry for 5 years. You were doing both things for pretty much the whole time, right? Because you were doing property management from the beginning.
Yeah.
What took you so long to actually combine both companies together and under one roof? It just seems like the easiest way to go about it.
Fear. Honestly, the short answer is fear. I was uncertain as to whether I had the workload and the clientele to actually support myself on my own. I was getting a lot of assistance with my old brokerage company. There was a lot of leads that would come through them. They had a relocation department that I was very busy with, and I would get a lot of referrals through that. So it was really fear to the point where I didn't think that I had the clientele and the workload to actually sustain myself as a completely independent company.
Right.
And actually, interestingly enough, just a couple of days ago, I was out with my friend with whom I merged the construction business, and he asked me more or less the same question. He said, if you had any regrets from the time that you went out on your own to now, or if you could do anything differently, what would you do? And my answer, as cliche as it is,
I wouldn't do it.
no. Yeah, maybe. And some days I do think that way, but no. The reality is, as cliche as it may sound, my regret is that I didn't do it sooner, because my fear of not having the workload and not having the clientele or the business to actually support myself on my own held me back. And quite frankly, when I decided to go out on my own, I didn't have any more clientele or any more business than I had when I was fearful.
Right.
I had the same amount of business, and I just decided to take that leap. And inarguably, it was a very big leap, because I was investing a lot of time and investing a lot of money into something that I didn't.
Legs.
Yeah, well, that helped. Yeah, it wasn't that big of a leap. I mean, for you, I don't know how you would have been able to do it, but
just move on.
Okay. Move on. So, I was investing a lot of time and money into something that I knew at some point was causing me a lot of fear, because I felt as though it wasn't adequate enough. It wasn't enough for me to start a business with. And so there was a lot of uncertainty at first, but now that looking back, I committed myself from the very beginning to do this the right way. And I didn't want to just be a one-man shop and be a broker owner while at the same time being the main producer and the one that brought in all the sales. I wanted to really shift my role. I wanted to shift my role into more of an administrator and a manager, in order to focus on actually building a business, as opposed to just being a real estate person that kept 100% of my commission. Right. So from the beginning, I made the commitment to do that. And in hindsight, I wish I had done it sooner, because it's only been a year, but I can go on forever about the progress that we've made.
Yeah, let's not do that.
And yeah, how much time are we already up in time?
We're only 30 minutes in. Go ahead.
So to answer your question, I wished I would have done it sooner for that reason, because fear kept me from probably progressing much earlier and being able to get a head start on building the foundation of the company. And not that I have any regrets of how it happened now, but like I said, it was a cliche answer that I actually wholeheartedly believe. In hindsight, knowing what I know now, I would have not let fear get in the way of that.
Or mean to the company. Or those or mean to the company. That was another fear. That was another regret.
Bringing you on into the company?
What you know now? Exactly. Yes, I wouldn't be here. But it's so for anybody that's thinking about...
Wait a minute. Should we talk about this off the air?
No, keep it rolling, just in case something else happens. So throw me off, man. So, so knowing that, and just having said that, would you recommend that anybody that's looking to, or has been thinking about, going on their own or starting their own company, would you say that the best thing to do is to just try it, to just go for it? And obviously there's a lot of variables like overhead and stuff like that that we don't need to get into. But besides that, it just seems like when you want it, you can make it happen if you work hard enough and really just go for it.
Well, true. I mean, you're right. I don't want to get into too much detail on that, but I think that it's a very important question, a very valid question, because I think that the reason why I would attribute a lot of our early success is because of an adaptation to a mentality that most people might not be able to recognize, in terms of, if you're a real estate salesperson and you're a top producer and you're doing very well, you are considering going out on your own. I think that there is a very valid point. There's a point as to where you have to ask yourself, why would I want to consider going out on my own? Is it simply because I want to be, like I said, 100% of my commission, or is it because I want something else? Is it because I want to actually build a company? Is it because I want to coach? Do I want to train? Do I want to mentor?
Do I want a new challenge? If you're already the top producer in your office, you're kind of capped there. And I'm not talking about commission. I'm talking about just...
but it's not just that. I think in some cases, if you're a top producer and you recognize that you are a badass salesperson, then be that badass salesperson. I mean, don't fix what's not broken. So, in like, my argument has always been, I get from a lot of people, they sometimes in casual conversation say, "Oh, I wonder why so-and-so hasn't gone on their own. They're such top producers. They're doing so great. They're great." And I always say to myself, well, they know that their strength is selling. They don't want to run a business. They don't want to manage agents. They don't want the overhead. They know that their strength is selling, and that's what they do best. And in some cases, these top producers, instead of actually stepping back and managing a team, they do the opposite, and they bring on administrative help to help them with the paperwork, but at least they're out on the road doing the showings, doing the selling, doing the pitching, doing what they do best, and then everyone else is helping them on the
I
administrative
agree with
side.
that, but my question was not that. You sound like a politician. You just avoided my question at this point.
But I also want world peace.
But my question was someone that has been thinking about going on their own, but is fearful of it.
Well, my answer was I would say that
you went into talk about how
no,
top
because it has
producers.
to. I don't want to steer somebody into something that
Nobody's gonna come after you if it doesn't work, man. It's just your opinion.
My opinion is that you have to do it for the right reasons.
Okay.
You can't. I mean, certainly, if you're of the mentality that you want to build a business, then absolutely, don't let fear, or uncertainty stop
Right.
you from doing that. But definitely recognize what your strengths are, what you're good at, and what you would consider your ideal role to be. In my case, as much as I loved real estate and being on the front lines showing
Sure.
and when I stopped to reflect, I honestly would recognize that I felt as though I would be much better at managing a team and overseeing agents and coaching them and mentoring than actually
Selling out there.
increasing the amount of transaction that I had in negotiating each transaction. So
Do you
if
still feel
somebody
that way?
shares, yes, absolutely. I actually, as interestingly enough, with all of the stress and all the challenges that
I
come
brought
with
you.
being, yes, and only you bring me,
Yeah,
really.
well.
Even our newer agents do so much better than you do.
True story.
One of these days, you'll get your checklist down and your systems
Yeah.
down where I won't have
Yeah,
to correct
seriously.
you. But being a broker manager obviously comes with challenges in terms of diffusing situations, and handling complaints and handling challenges or concerns from agents. You know, different types of challenges that as a salesperson you might not deal directly with. You have a broker or a manager to handle that for
Right.
you. So interestingly enough, with those challenges that are so different from being a salesperson, I enjoy those much more than I enjoy the challenges of a sales transaction. I enjoy being able to help an agent through a problem or help them find a solution to something, or coach them into how to become better and mentor them and offer my thoughts and suggestions on whatever they might be working on. So if anybody shares that sentiment or that thought or those thoughts, I would absolutely encourage them to take that leap and not let fear and uncertainty stop them from doing that, because in hindsight, I've seen that was my only regret, not doing it sooner. But it's key. What do you actually want to do? If you were going out on your own just to keep 100% of your commission, then I would say I think you need to think about that a little bit more, because the added overhead and expenses of managing your own business
outweigh the
will
actual
far outweigh the 100% commission. So I just wanted to make that clear. But absolutely, if anybody was pushing for being their own independent broker and running their own business, don't let fear and uncertainty
And don't
stop
worry,
you.
we'll add a disclaimer at the end or something
Yes, subtitles.
like that. Just in case.
Make sure you make very
It
clear what I wanted to say.
It seems like you're so concerned about giving out that advice.
Well, you know, I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying, but I think
We're gonna see it in the news tomorrow. 1,500 people quit the brokerage and opens up their own firm.
Yeah.
$14.99 failed, bankrupt in one day.
They cite George Gill as a reason.
So like you said, we're a year in. All right. So first of all, did you think you'll make it a year?
Oh man, honestly, there were a lot of sleepless nights at the beginning, and not just when we first started, but when I had made the decision to actually leave the old company to start my own.
Yeah, because people don't know this, but you signed a lease on this place. Was it before you left the company,
Yeah.
or the day of?
Yeah, I don't think that was public information, but so
No,
my
now
own
it
company is
Now it
listening.
is.
But
No. That's the whole point of this.
yeah, so I did. I committed in a lot of ways before I gave notice that I was leaving. So there were a lot of nights where, I mean, not to sound very exaggerated, but the truth is that I would wake up in panics because I would think to myself, did I make this move too soon? Am I not prepared? Am I giving myself too much credit than what I actually deserve? Am I ready to do this or not? And so there were times when I wanted to just reverse everything that I did. I wanted to call the landlord. I can't do the lease. I can't do anything. I'm not leaving. But for one reason or the other, I continued. And even in the beginning, the first few months,
For
it
one
was
reason
very.
or another. You mean for the signed lease, you kept going. You didn't have a choice, man. You had so much money invested
I guess
already.
legal reasons was a
Yeah,
big-
exactly. For one reason or another. That's giving yourself too much credit.
But so I mean, even not just before I officially started, but even after we officially started, in the first couple of months, there was no business production. I mean, you joined us in January, so from
first day of
October
the year, yes.
through the end of the year, I was in this office we're roughly 1,300 square feet in this office, and I was in here by myself every day for 3 months by myself. It's actually kind of comical. If anybody would walk in, they would see this huge office, and there was one desk, and
it wasn't even by the front door.
It wasn't by the front door. I was under my desk actually. And there was no business production. I was focused mostly in those first few months on building the business, on how I'm going to market myself, what I'm going to do to brand ourselves, what kind of advertising am I going to do. There were very few showings and very few transactions that were in place with clients. So that was stressful in and of itself. So yeah, I mean, To answer your question, there were times when I felt very nervous and very uneasy about where we were headed. I always felt as though there was a finite amount of resources for us to go through until we ran out of fuel, and that was it. But fortunately, we were able to surpass that, and I think that in this first year, now looking back, we've surpassed so many of my expectations, particularly in those early months, in terms of the systems that we put in place, the type of onboarding processes that we have, our checklists, our procedures, the type of branding and marketing that we're doing, our video productions, our podcasts. I mean, you asked me that a year ago, and I honestly would have thought you were crazy because of the situation that we were in then.
6 months ago.
Sure, even 6 months ago. Yeah. So we've made a lot of progress in a short period of time, which is incredibly encouraging. And we've all had a collective part in that, and I can't thank everyone enough in terms of the administrative staff, the agents. We've all played a huge part in getting us to where we are today and surpassing all of our expectations. So it's very encouraging to look into the future, into what the second year, the third year, the fourth year brings for us. Because if this is how we've handled our first year, then I think that we're in good shape.
Oh, so that's a good point then. Where do you see yourself in a year? Well, the company, not you. I don't care about you. I mean, you can stay home if you want in a year.
No, I mean, building on the successes of this first year is really what I want to focus on.
Yeah, but what are your expectations like?
So in terms of if I were to take a look into where we are in year 2, year 3, I definitely wanted to have a larger team with which we could handle a lot more business and provide a lot more, and have the resources to provide a lot more services. Right. So, I mean, we've been focusing so much on the brokerage branch and on bringing on new agents, setting up the processes and systems to do that. But we also have a property management branch, and I've been focusing all of my time mostly on that while simultaneously trying to build the brokerage branch. But ultimately, what I'd like to do is do the same thing with property management that we've done with the brokerage, and that's bring on a team to help expand the property management, right. Be able to have dedicated leasing agents, be able to have assistant property managers, senior property managers that can
multiple offices,
a bigger office, whatever it may be, but certainly focus on building a bigger team and really reinforce my new role or my ideal role of not just being a property manager, not just being the head broker, but more of a coach and more of a person that offers training and guidance and knowledge or whatever it may be to the new agents, right. Or to the agents that or to the property managers that come work with us or whatnot. I definitely want to transition into more of a coaching and educational role as opposed to a property manager or a head broker that's competing with his own team. So I mean, I think that the foundation of it in this first year has been set pretty well for me to say that in year 2, year 3.
No settlement cracks.
No what?
No settlement cracks.
No. Yeah. For me to say that the expansion and building off of that is really what I want to focus on.
All right. Awesome.
Well, wait. So I don't know if you're.
Oh no, I already left.
Well, how many
I was only paid for 20 minutes.
Is that how long we're in right now?
That's right.
Okay. Well, really quickly then, because I also want to touch up on your side and your opinion, and not literally. I'm not going to reach over the table, but
yeah, because I'm like
but I'd like coming from you, especially, and I've said this many times before, not just when I write, but to people who ask me. I admire very much that you left what is arguably one of the most successful real estate agencies in New England to join a startup, and you joined it with
You're
uncertainty.
gonna say Starbucks.
Well, I don't know. You might have. You always hold different jobs.
Well, I needed a part-time job.
But there was so much uncertainty and no guarantee for anything with
Right.
that. So I really am curious to hear very quickly from you in terms of what your expectations may have been from the beginning when you joined us, how you feel a year in, what you would say your ideal role would be in the next year or two.
So you're just copying all the questions I asked you.
Well, it's valid. I mean, it's from a different perspective. Sure.
Sure. I mean, I don't have the pressure of the whole overhead and stuff like that, So for me, it was a lot easier to adjust. It was also very exciting to be part of something brand new and help build something from scratch. Doing sales and all that. As much as I do enjoy it, you know better than anyone that I get bored very easily with jobs, and it was nice to have that change of pace. So my expectations were not very high, and not because of you, just because I was excited for the opportunity that I wasn't even thinking about what I was going to get out of it. So a year later, I'm glad I did this because it has been really.
You can be honest.
No, and I am being honest. A year later, I am excited to have done this because it was challenging, but it was also exciting, and it was nice to be part of something bigger than just a sale. You know what I mean? So, and it has helped me also, grow as a business person from different aspects of my life. And now I try to do my paperwork a little bit better. Before, we had assistants. Now, it kind of, and it's nice to fill those gaps, those knowledge gaps, because I do see myself in this industry for a long, long time, that I'm glad I got to do that in order to get better at it. A year later, I hope I'm not just the office clown anymore. I hope I can actually make a few more sales, grow a little bit more, while still being the office clown part-time, because I do enjoy that role. But other than that, I look forward to training new people. I look forward to being part of all that. And yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I think that you made a lot of really good points, because now that we've done a lot of the tough job in terms of building the company, building the foundations, I think that it allows us to not just expand and grow as a company, but also grow into new roles.
Right.
And
roles that we didn't have before.
Roles that we didn't have. And I mean, if ultimately you want to transition yourself into something else other than a salesperson, I think that there is room for that growth. And as we adapt and as we expand and bring on new clients and different and new team members,
right.
Then the opportunity exists for you to shift your role as well. And everyone that's working with us right now, the opportunity exists to shift their roles at some point. So I think that that's always been what I have argued is very advantageous about a startup company. And
I agree.
I hope that we can keep this momentum going and get to a point where we can all find ourselves in new roles and being able to challenge ourselves in new ways.
And also new Rolls Royces. Is that right?
I don't know about that. That's too much. Okay.
All right. So, any final thoughts? Any closing statements?
No,
we're good.
I think that was good.
All right. So we shed some light on the way you felt. You told us a little bit too much about your personal life and about how you couldn't sleep.
I was holding back.
Yeah,
there was so much.
I'm so sorry people had to hear that. Hopefully we get sales because people feel bad for us now. But other than that, man, thanks for opening up. I'm sure people appreciate it, and it does shed some light into the struggle of starting something from scratch, and people hopefully can appreciate that,
I hope so.
Or maybe other agents can actually hopefully opens their eyes as to the fact that they just need to do it.
And I would invite people to come chat with me. I love picking other people's brains, and so if somebody wants to do that with me, it's Halloween. I mean, I figured that was appropriate. but no, yeah, absolutely, I welcome that.
All right. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. If you have any questions or anything like that, just give us a call. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, guys.